Hi, I'm Valerie Jennings, spokesperson for SafeDefend, and we are honored to have Missy Jenkins Smith with us today. Missy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, good. We're here because we want to talk about your story, your journey as a victim of school violence, and the strong, empowering message you have that you've been spreading to tens of thousands of adults and students. Missy, tell us how that journey started and what you've been doing since that incident back in 1997.
Well, after the shooting happened back on December the 1st of 1997, I really felt like I needed to do something about things that were happening in our schools, especially since it seemed like there were a lot of shootings that were happening one after another. And on December the 1st, 97, when it happened at my school, this was something that none of us ever thought could ever happen. And then after that, it seemed like we experienced Jonesboro, Arkansas, then along came Columbine. And actually, after that, it just seemed to blow up to me. So I really felt like there was a lot that I needed to do, especially since I had the visual of being in a wheelchair from my injury that day. I felt like my visual was going to be a huge impact whenever I went in and spoke to kids in schools or conferences or different things like that to kind of give the message of what I felt like we had done wrong in our school. Some of the things that we could have changed to help prevent this from happening.
So you did something that most people have a very difficult time doing. You forgave the shooter, and you also confronted him in prison. Isn't that right?
That is right. I felt it was actually right after I had entered the ICU that day. I was talking with my twin sister, who was also there that morning, and we felt like forgiving was the most important thing that we needed to do in order to help ourselves move on. We also, or I was able to face him at his sentencing on December the 16th of 1998, and that's when I publicly told him that I'd forgiven him. And forgiving for me was something that I felt like I needed to do in order to move on. It was not to let him off, but to let myself off from what had happened that morning, and not to hold those angry feelings, because I really felt like I was getting a second chance at a life to be able to move on. One of the things that I wanted to accomplish when I did meet with him face to face, it was July of 2007, when I went to LaGrange Penitentiary where he was being held. One of the things I wanted to do was to kind of get information from him as to exactly what he was thinking, why he made the choice to do what he did, and to see if there was anything that I could get from him that could help others, because he is one of the few school shooters that was still alive after the fact. So I really felt like I could get information from him, and maybe for him to kind of put a positive in the negative situation he had created. So that was my mission, and I spoke to him for about 2.5 hours, and it was something that I did feel was just very important for me to do.
It's a very brave thing that you did. I don't think most people could do that. Hats off to you. You talk and do a lot of media interviews with Oprah, and you've been with a lot of famous people to get your message out there. What is your take, your perspective on the dialogue and education and solutions we have, or that we're discussing, that hopefully we have, for schools to mitigate active shooter scenarios?
I think that it's very important for people to realize that this is something that can happen anywhere. I think that I had that mentality then of 15, I'm invincible. These kind of things can't happen in my school. But I think just to be aware and to learn what it is that you need to do if those situations occur are so very important, and not to take those situations lightly, and to have that mentality of it's not going to happen in my school, because you never know. You have to put those proactive actions in place, because we can't nowadays, unfortunately, we can't live as if those things can't happen. And it's important to look for those proactive things, such as, the active shooter trainings, or those different things to put in place in schools, so that kids and teachers can understand the importance of being prepared for whenever something like this could occur. And then, fortunately, I hope something like that doesn't occur anywhere. And that's part of one of the things that I have done since I've chosen to speak publicly and try to get my message out of what I think that will help somewhat prevent school shootings. But it's so important to be proactive and to put those things in place.
So education is key. The dialogue is key, and you're getting that message out there. You also have a lot of blessings in your life. I read that you married your college sweetheart.
I did.
You have 2 children. What does your life look like today post school shooting?
I think that the shooting did kind of wake me up, which was kind of a sad thing for something bad to happen, for me to realize how important future was. But I did go to college, and I got a degree in social work. I worked in a school as a counselor for 10 years with at-risk students, and it was one of those things where I was hoping that I could be there for someone that might be like the shooter at my school, that needed someone to talk to, because he experienced a lot of things such as bullying and that kind of thing. And that was one of the things I wanted to do. And then after 10 years, that's when I decided to start publicly speaking and using my experience to attempt to help others and help prevent shootings. I did marry my college sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
We've been married for almost 9 years this coming summer.
Congratulations.
And we do have 2 children. We have 2 boys, 7 and 5. So I do feel like I'm truly blessed. After this, before the shooting or during the shooting, questioning where I would be at in my life today, as far as kids and getting married. I really wasn't thinking about that, but I do think that I'm so blessed. And I think it's because of choosing to be happy and using my experience in a positive way, instead of just sitting back and saying, after this, I'm in a wheelchair, my life is over. I couldn't think that way. I mentally had to put myself in the idea of it could have been worse. I've got the ability to use my arms, and so thank goodness for that. I'm alive, and I can be alive and be there to help prevent these things from happening. And I did that through the forgiveness and through choosing to be happy.
It's a beautiful story and very empowering. I hope that everyone is able to hear your message loud and clear. And I know you have a book out. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes. Yes. And that's it. That's the title of my book. It's called I Choose to Be Happy. Mm-hmm. And really, that's the choice I had to make. So this is my book that I wrote. It's just the account of everything that happened that morning to the day that it until today, what I'm doing, which is publicly speaking. You can get the book on Amazon. You can also go to my website, which is MissyJenkinsSmith.com, and you can order it, and I can actually personalize and sign the book for you to leave some type of encouraging message. But my life is full of wonderful things because of making that choice, and I really feel like I'm being used to help prevent violence and to make sure everyone knows that it can be prevented, and the things that we need to do. And also, if you go through a tragic event such as this, your life doesn't have to be over. You can overcome those things.
Lucy, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and many blessings to you and your family.
Thank you.